Hey, Sparkies. Specifically, my Wingrunner Sparkies. So, Addie, Silas, Sophia, Persephone. It's kind of weird not being able to see you guys every Wednesday. I've gotten into a routine of being able to teach you guys and go play games with you and learn from the Bible, but this is a little different. We're gonna try something new. I'm gonna do some videos and upload them and go through some of your lessons with you. So hopefully we can kind of keep in touch that way. We'll be talking to your parents and reaching out to your parents to see how is best to go forward because as you know things are just a little different right now. Things might be really weird. You probably haven't gone to school in a long time. You might be going to school online. You might just be home all the time. Your parents are probably home with you. I'll tell you, for me, I am home. I'm working from home, but I've been home for a few weeks, and so have both Zachary and Zoe and Mr. Sean. So I live in a fairly small house, and all four of us are on top of one another, and I'm sure some of you with bigger families probably feel the same way. So hang in there. We'll get through this. Just pray to God, and we'll make it through. I don't have a full lesson to go through with you guys this week. The one thing I did want to touch base with you and your parents on is just a reminder. I think the last time that we were together, we probably got through up to Green 2-4. So it would be Green Jewel 2 and number 4, which was the return flight. The verses that had to be said for that were Romans 6:23, Deuteronomy 6:5-1, and Thessalonians 5:17 through 18. When you guys left the last time we were together, I asked that you guys look over the Old Testament books. It's a list of long list of books, right? And it's kind of scary because it seems like we're not going to be able to do it. But I will tell you this, and it's a secret, okay? You can't tell anybody. There's songs out there that teach you how to say them, and you don't even have to really just memorize them. You know how sometimes you hear a song on the radio and it just gets stuck in your head, and all day long you're singing it, or for example, this is the song that never ends. Yeah, I bet that's going to be stuck in your head for the rest of the night. Anyway, the point is there are songs out there to help you remember them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some of those videos or those songs below. So there will be some links for you guys, and your parents can pull them up for you and you can practice that way. Or if you'd like, you can do what the book does. And the book breaks it down. I believe that there are let's see, for the first section there's 5 books, and then 7, and then 8. You'll have to go through the book with your parents to look at those. Unfortunately, I don't have your book with me, but if you work with your parents, you'll be able to learn these books and you'll be able to look through these pages and see it all. So you want to look at all of the Old Testament books up to Green Jewel 3-4. And in Green Jewel 3-4, you guys are going to have to say all of the Old Testament books for me so we can sign off on them, okay? Now, remember when we had a really long verse and there was a song that went with it, and I said if you guys sing it with the song, I'll give it to you? I think I'll do the same thing for the Old Testament books if you practice with a song. I'm totally okay with that. But that's up to you and your parents, however it is that you want to study it. Okay, so this week, all I wanted to do was touch base with you guys and say, hey, let you know I really miss you. And it's a really big bummer that I didn't get a chance to see you. But in order for us to kind of stay on track with things, if you could work with your parents and go through the books of the Old Testament, that would be awesome. Once we get through all those sections, it's smooth sailing from there. It won't be hard at all. So next week, I'm actually going to backtrack a little bit and go through that first lesson when it comes to the Old Testament books. And that is Red Jewel 3-1, which is facts about the Bible. So I will go over that briefly next week in another video. But until then, like I said, if you could just practice the Old Testament books. And so I'm going to go through them real quick with you too. See, I have to read them for now, but I'll try to memorize them with you guys too. I'll start listening to the song so I memorize it too. But the books of the Bible, and like I said, they're broken down in sections so you guys can do it whatever makes it easiest for you. We have Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, or Song of Songs, depending on your version of the Bible, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Sounds like a lot, right? Don't worry, like I said, I'm going to learn it with you guys. I'll sing the song with you, so we'll do it together. The only other thing I wanted to say to you guys as a quick note is if any of you don't have previous verses up to Red Jewel 3:1, feel free to work on them with your parents now. Now's the time to get caught up. The more verses you get, the more jewels you get, the more bucks you get for the Awana store. And of course, we all want to go shopping in the Awana store, right? There's so many cool things there. Miss Vanessa just keeps buying more. So keep an eye on that. Try to practice some of those if you can. And I think the last thing I want to say to you guys before I sign off is I know that sometimes during times like these things can get a little scary. And I will tell you what, things like making this video for you guys scare me, but we all have to face things that are scary and get through them. But you remember, we are never alone. We are never alone. And this past Sunday, Pastor Ken did a YouTube live video for church, and one of the first things that he said was he shared a verse with us. And this verse is actually going to come from Deuteronomy, which is one of the Old Testament books, which is in the first section of books that you have to learn, right? So if you look at Red Jewel 3:2, the first 5 books, it starts with Genesis and it ends with, you guessed it, Deuteronomy. So the verse I'm going to read you is Deuteronomy 31, verse 6. So be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, and do not panic before them. For the Lord your God will personally go ahead of you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you. See, what's awesome about that verse is that it's what got me to be able to make this video. I know, like I said, sometimes things can be scary, especially new things that are different. Not knowing when you're going back to school or when you're going to see your friends or anything like that. But remember, as the Bible tells us, and remember, the Bible is God's word and it's the truth. God will never leave us. He's always with us, so there's no need to be afraid. And I'm sure when you spend time learning the Old Testament books, maybe spend some time in the verses and really get to know God's word, you'll feel closer to him and less afraid. So, just to tie it up, remember, work on the Old Testament books of the Bible, and I will see you guys next week.